Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Uncensored. I'm Marien, your host from YachtS Mermaids. And today I'm super excited. I know I always am excited, but today I'm really excited because this has been on my to-do list for the longest time and finally it's happening. I am talking today with Conrad Empson, founder of CrewPass. And if you don't know what CrewPass is, please, Conrad, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what CrewPass is, and how did you ended up creating CrewPass?
Oh, sure. So yeah, my name's Conrad. I've been in the industry for about 10 years in total. I did 5 years as crew working on boat before I moved ashore and worked out my life ashore. About 3 years ago now, I set up CrewPass after working for a security company in the yachting industry, realizing my whole time as a crew member working on boat, I never ever once got background checked. Never once asked who I was before I stepped on that plane. And that may seem like a really big open-ended thing, but both the boats I worked on, I worked very closely with the kids, chaperoning them around every water park and theme park in Europe, locked in a boat in the middle of the ocean with people I've never met before, and never once questioned as to who I was. So I wanted to create a bit where that allowed everyone to be a little bit safer on board.
Yes, on the Wild West of yachting. Because I was really... Yeah, we were talking about this, how I've been in the industry for 16 years and I have only been background checked once. And that was because I was actually working for the yacht and the state of the owner. And by law, they require the state, not the yacht, the state require that I had a background check because also I was working as a splash kind of PAS accountant. So they needed to check like that financial side of it as well, because I was managing like quite a big budget. Also, I was working, like you said, with the kids. I was like going to be taking them places, driving them. It makes sense that they want to check your background check, but then yachting is like...
It seems to create this disconnect. The moment you work for the principal, you work for the owner directly within his household, there's all these checks, there's all these kind of loopholes you've got to jump through. It seems the moment you move to the yacht, this element of someone's checks is completely overlooked. We deal with now with so many private offices that then ensure the checks are done before they go to the boats. There seems to be this kind of, we work on the boat and the agencies must background check them. There just isn't. There's this massive disconnect where generally if the owner finds out, it's then enforced across the fleet.
And it's interesting because back in 2006, when I started, there was no social media. So there was no Facebook to get a job, a WhatsApp group. It was literally through agencies, or you went to like small woods and there was like a table and you would put your resume and you would pick on little business cards. That's how you would get a job. I didn't even dog walk back in the day. Like I actually never done dog walking in 16 years. But
lucky.
But I say this because I was actually surprised that I was getting jobs through crew agencies, but I never got my background check. But the minute that I would want to, it's same crew agency, but they were offering me a state job, same owner, I had to actually get a background check. So for me, it didn't make sense. And I'm surprised that actually no crew agency ever figure out how to check backgrounds.
It's more because the fact that they want to try and save money. That's what it is. It's just the fact they want to save money.
But it's not even expensive.
No, but they still don't want to chop into it. Honestly, the amount of crew agencies we work with, and every single one of them is offloading the cost of it.
So apart from the obvious, that is like safety on board, we all know, we have all been with crew members that are aggressive, that potentially are perpetrators of sexual assault and harassment. We have all been, at least women, 99.9, we have all gone through some sort of sexual harassment on board. It's just the reality of things. And it seems like for me, like when I look at the yachting industry, I always think this is the Wild West. It's almost, you go for an interview and you're saying to them, hey, you don't know me, you don't know my background, but you're welcoming me. It's almost like the yachting industry has said to everybody, hey, we don't give a shit if you have been a perpetrator, if you have a criminal background, come on, we welcome you.
Honestly,
and then we have all these issues on board And like you were talking about, we're in a small tin can.
Let's just zoom out in the situation. You look at a boat, right? You look at a boat, you've got 12 crew, okay? You're employed on that boat. Generally, everyone else on board that boat they put a job post out on YachtSpot or for a career agency. You fly someone in literally from the other side of the world, from Australia, okay, to come work on the boat. You check the references, the salary. You have no idea who that person is. Again, another person from South Africa or another person from the US. You're flying all of these different nationalities, different people in to work on this boat, provided their references say they're okay. You have no idea, again, who they are. And their CV looks okay and they sound all right on the phone. You fly them in to work on this little tin can and expect them to get on with everyone. It's just amazing that no one's asking any questions. And in the amount of times that we pick up on criminal records, it's unreal. Like I said to you before we hopped on the call, we're generally picking up 2 to 3 criminal records a week. Don't get me wrong, 80% of those, 90% of those records are not something to worry about. They're just general little bits and things. However, the 80% of people, those 80% of those records will show a trait of that person. They show... Give
us an example of what are those minor backgrounds, criminal backgrounds that you get that are not obviously like super, it shouldn't cost you your job potentially, but it could definitely, is a red flag at the end of it.
The most common one we see is a DUI, driving under the influence.
Doesn't surprise me.
We see stuff, all sorts of different stuff. However, we've seen stuff like criminal damage, and the report was basically smashed up someone's house. We've seen another one just the other day of a battery charge. This was a crew member on board a boat. Okay, so this crew member was on board a boat, and we done a criminal record on him. Turns out that he is the battery charge, aggressively beating someone up. And it turned out when he left, we then heard reports from other crew members that every time he went out and got drunk, he was quite an aggressive person, lashing out, doing all that sort of stuff. So there is a trait behind these things, and if we can pick up on these things beforehand, I generally might save you a bit of an awkwardness later on.
Absolutely. And can you take us through the process of how does CrewPass get people verified? And just give us through the process that you guys go through to check the background checks of people.
I always design CrewPass to be something that fits in with processes. So the idea is if someone holds the CrewPass approved data, no matter where they are in the industry, whether they're starting out or whether they've did it for a year, the idea is we've checked them, they're clean. It's a traffic light system. They got it, they're good. When they sign up, they undergo an identity check. That identity check confirms who they are and where they come from. It's easy enough to fake being someone, and that sounds ridiculous. We also then use that information when the crew member then provides all the information in order to conduct their background check. A lot of countries require us to gain power of attorney from that crew member so we can operate the criminal checks. Because it's not just a Google search. We contact the required countries to be able to obtain the criminal records of that person, if there is any, from that country. We use the information they've provided with the identity check to cross-reference that information and gather it. That can be quite a logistical nightmare depending on where they're from, but we handle that entire process. All the person on the other entities is just an identity check. They provide a bit of information, and then we verify and authenticate their certificates. Provided they pass all 3 of these steps, they then gain an approved status. The concept being is, say, for example, you're a captain, you put something out on Facebook that you've got this job going. If a crew member goes, here's my CrewPass URL, this is linking to my profile, a captain can literally, they have the CV, that's great, but that's all the information that the crew member has provided. That's the best references they could find. That's all of the information that they want you to know. When the captain clicks on their CrewPass profile, it clearly states at the top whether their CrewPass approved or not. Then all of their information is detailed below, whether it be their location, whether it be all their certificates, whether they're verified, whether they're expiring. Every single one of those things has been verified on that.
And if the crew member has been verified but has a positive criminal background check, does that show up on their URL link, or that information
not on that public profile? No. So on that public profile, we've tried to make it so that private information isn't shared where it's not necessary. The idea between the approved, pending, declined status is the fact of you can share information without sharing private information. If a crew member has something on their record, they are known as what we call as approved with observations, and it will clearly state underneath whether they have observations. Observations can be anything from like DUIs to small allegations or really old record. If that captain or whoever, that employer, can order a report from us, we send a request to the crew member that they have to approve or decline it. If they approve, we then send a full report to that captain for all of our findings.
Okay, like the actual...
concept being it, what information should be public is public, and the crew member has the ability to share it. Otherwise, all the private information is kept behind.
That's great. And how has this been received? When did CrewPass started? When did you found it?
I founded it just over 2.5 years ago.
So it's recently new.
Yeah.
And
everyone was like, why? How has no one done this? And
we were talking about this, and I remember I was telling you how for so many years we have always talked about why are we not checking criminal background checks? And to be honest, I think nobody really looked into it. And a lot of people just kept saying, people are just, it's so many different countries, like just one extra thing. Because as a crew agent, myself, when I was working on a crew agency, we checked references. That's what we checked.
Yeah.
And then obviously being in the industry for so long, you know other people. So you check beyond what they're telling you because you know that captain, you know that boat. So you start checking beyond that. And then a lot of other things come up because people sometimes give you references that are the ones that they know are going to be positive. Or it could be fake references for all we know. And we did have a black list.
This is another thing. The MCA is regulated on not blacklisting people. I think that is the worst thing they could ever do. Like you need to be able to remove some people. Some people should not be in this industry.
Yeah.
But from an employer's perspective, going back to your question, the reason why I don't think it's been done is one, because unlike any other job, all we're trying to do is trying to save our owners money. Where can we cut costs where possible? Where can we save ourselves time and energy? And background checking has always been it. Like before starting CrewPass, I would have the foggiest idea of how to conduct a criminal background check on Puerto Rico. The idea with CrewPass is to make that easy. All you do is supply, from an employer's perspective, all you do is give us a name and an email address and we get started. Yeah.
I can testify to that. I personally work with certain owners and management companies and captains. And to be honest, we have always had the best of luck finding really good crew members that we keep them for 4 or 5 years on board. And it just happened that recently we had a issue with a crew member, and it really opened up our eyes to like, hey, we need to be looking further. We need to find out if this person, if whoever we're bringing in has something that we need to know about. Because it could be that you don't have a criminal background. You have a positive criminal background check, but meaning you're safe, right? You haven't been convicted or anything. And this boat could be the first time that you commit a crime, right? It could happen. Like things like this do happen. But more than likely, and you use the word trade, that's how it works. One thing leads to another. People that do end up being the issue on board is not, they have had this going on for many years. And you can see it later when you talk to people or you check a background check and stuff like that. So I think that this was an eye-opener for us because we're like, okay, we need to start checking. We can't continue to bring people just having faith that what the other people are telling us is true and just crossing our fingers really hard that everything's going to be okay. Because this person that we had this issue, you would never imagine this person would do what potentially they have done. It would never cross your mind. They don't come across like that. They're super professional. They get along with everybody. But there was a situation on board that happened. And when we reached out to CrewPass, to you guys, I was super excited to tell the captain, it's so easy. It's so easy. And within a few days, actually, I know you sometimes takes longer. For us, it was quite quickly. We had a crew member almost a week between him entering our boat. So we're like crossing that we could get the background check before we flew him. It did came clean, so he was excited. And the best thing was that when we reached out to the crew member, because obviously we need consent, he was excited that the boat was checking criminal background check. He was like, yes, I'm super happy that this is happening, that we're actually making sure people on board are potentially safer than before, right? Because this is what it comes down to as well. And you talk about saving money.
You're going onto a boat where a boat is doing every check possible. You go onto that boat with a little bit of confidence, i.e. the fact of like, oh wow, everything is done by the book here. Everything, it's not just jump on board and get on with it. You go into an environment that you feel really a lot more safer.
Exactly. And when you have that type of boat, because you were talking about saving money for the owner, all that, because we're always trying to do that, this is a way of saving money, because when you have good crew members on a positive, safe environment, the turnover is a lot less. So you're saving money on flights, crew turnover, all that stuff, right? So at the end of the day, and it's not even expensive to get a background check with you guys. I was surprised that it wasn't. So it's a minimum investment for a big benefit. And another thing I wanted to ask you was, PYA just came out with an email saying that they have been bombarded with an amount of fake certifications. What has been your experience? Because part of the procedures that you guys do is check that those certifies are legit, are not fake.
We've been on this for a while, and we brought out this process probably about a year ago, where we started verifying and authenticating documents direct with issuers. We saw an increase in fake certificate. People literally, like, digital copies changed and edited. Every crew member is trying to get one up. And this is the problem. Like, they are buying certificates. They are doing lots of different things. There is WhatsApp groups. We helped UKSA at one point because they had reports of someone selling their certificates, and there were versions. And then another crew member had actually been to their training center to do the certificates, but then forged other certificates from somewhere else. Like, honestly, it's nuts. And when you actually delve into it, so we created a system, a two-step verification system. So a crew member upload their certificates to our system. Our system processes them based upon, like, previous examples. It's received and identified as being true and authentic. So when it goes through that, we register all the information, and then it goes to the issuer to be secondary authenticated. So the idea is that we'll pick up the first one, and then they go off to the issuer to be authenticated there. Once they're signed, sealed, delivered, they then show as verified in the profile.
And I remember posting about CrewPass in the communities in WhatsApp and all this. And somebody came back and said to me, is this a requirement by law? Is MLC or MCA requiring this to happen? And then they mentioned about, why would I pay for this if it's not law? And also, I could get my own criminal background check in my country. So what's your take on this objection almost that they have?
It's not law. However, a lot of it is just a safety. If you think about it, there are so many, you just said it's like the Wild West. There is so many things you can do and get away with in yachting, especially in employment kind of law purposes. You can get away with an unbelievable amount. And it is all about us standing up and saying, actually, I think we should be doing this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to roll over and it will continue like the Wild West. Like, it is one of those things. And that whole thing of paying for it, I initially created CrewPass to try and create a safer industry. That's why we have it on the wall. It's one of those things we're trying to do it, just trying to create a bit of a safer industry. In terms of paying for it, it was always designed so that employers would pay for it. However, I always found it very difficult to get my first job. I found it really difficult to get into the industry. Everyone's trying to get every certificate they can. I opened up CrewPass to crew members to be able to purchase so that they could utilize it in showing employers that they're cleared, they're checked, and they're going above and beyond to try and showcase themselves to any potential employer. Anything to help them try and get that leg up. A lot of employers now use us as standard, like we are part of their contractual agreement before employment. So everything is subject to a background check going through. So what we see now is a lot of employers, the employment process is set up and they've already got CrewPass. So crew members will purchase it themselves on a monthly plan that I created to try and help. They'll pay for it themselves. They'll then get offered a job within a month. That boat uses us as part of their employment process. The boat pays for it. We reimburse that agreement, what they've already paid, so that we've spent up that employment process time, and we've helped everyone in that process.
As you're mentioning this, I'm thinking that sounds amazing, but the reality of yachting is that we get jobs. We need people tomorrow. Like, a crew member left and I need another mate and I need him 24 hours here or less. So this creates that gap of not having the time to be able to get a background check and all this. And how I envision it is that, yes, right now we might not get to be able to fly the person with that background check immediately sometimes. But the more we ask, the more that we make CrewPass standard, the norm, the requirement, then more than likely all crew members potentially will end up being verified by you guys. And then even if I have to fly you 24 hours, I'm like, okay, I know this person has been verified.
You're a prime example of this. But when we hopped on the call earlier, you mentioned that you did a lot of freelance work.
Yeah.
How long on average would you spend on board a boat? 2-3 months? And then you would leave?
Sometimes a week, sometimes 5 days, sometimes 3 months. Yeah.
You're hopping from boat to boat, right? You go and you get CrewPass because one boat has paid for it for you. Okay, you're on that boat for 2 months. You then hop off that boat and a week later you're on board another boat. Okay, all you then show to that next boat is the fact you've got CrewPass and the boat after that and the boat after that and the boat after that. And they know instantly that everything's been checked. They don't just worry. It's done. It's done. If everyone had it, it just makes life a lot easier. It makes everyone's life and employment a lot easier because you just have a green tick.
Yeah, and we were talking about the blacklist of people, and what we have seen in the industry is that prior to CrewPass, there has been in Facebook, somebody founded the private group called Yachting Name and Shame, which is great because we can go in there, we can search, and we can see other people's experiences with vessels. People, hey, avoid this person, avoid this vessel for whatever reasons. But that's great, but that's not the solution also. So I think having something like this that is really legal, like legit, you're getting information from that person is the next step. And it has to be standardized. It has to be the norm. And people are like, oh.
I'm amazed that the MLC hasn't. I do speak to them quite regularly about different bits and pieces. And when I was speaking to the main guy who runs the MLC regulation for crew agencies, we went over the policies and the regulations about what crew agencies have to do. Crew agencies are required, if they want to become MLC compliant, to check a crew member's identity and a crew member's certificates that they are legitimate and real. Those are the only two things that they are required by an MLC to check. And even his comments to me were, I still cannot quite believe that we are not requiring crew agencies to conduct criminal background checks. And that was from him. It's amazing the fact of all the crew agencies.
Why are they not? Like, why are they not? Who has to change that for it to happen?
I don't know. And it's the same reason this whole blacklisting situation. You cannot blacklist people. I don't understand this regulation. You are protecting people who have a bad name for getting employment.
Exactly.
Just don't understand.
And this is why it comes down to us at the end of the day. We cannot wait for them to do what we know needs to happen. Thankfully, we have people like you that are smart to say, hey, there's a gap. We need to bridge it. We need to make this happen. And we now as the people, part of the industry, if I'm a crew member and I want a safer industry, I need to go and pay for my verification for CrewPass because I need to lead by example. And if I'm a vessel, if I'm a manager, if I'm a crew placement, if I'm a chief steward hiring people, if I'm a captain hiring people, whoever, if you are hiring people, you also have to stand up and say, we are requiring this from the crew members from now on. Because we have to do that change. We have to lead by example until so many people do it that it just becomes the norm. It becomes the standard.
I do believe that every captain should be doing this. I don't care whether it's
and also, I know that we haven't had the blacklist, but by doing this, we start dividing the safety people versus the people that are unsafe, that are actually perpetrating.
In the past week, so we have a list. We have a list of people that are actively avoiding going through our checks. And we were reviewing the list this morning over the past 5 days. And there are, I think it was 9 people on there in the past week, which are
and you mean avoiding because a boat required them and then they just haven't given you consent?
A boat has ordered them. Yeah, a boat has ordered their check and they're actively avoiding providing
the information.
Something generally has been flagged and we then need to go back to them and ask a question about a period of addresses or anything like that because we have had a question flag up that basically means that they've got a criminal record. They need to acknowledge something or admit to something before that information can be released. It's normally a confirmation of information and they will actively avoid us through those situations. So when they have a week to respond, and if they don't, then we notify the employer that these people are actively avoiding it. And we see that so regularly. So regularly. And what it does, and go back to your thing, is this wheels out all of those crew members that were just hiding in plain sight beforehand, that generally have something to be concerned about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because so many times on board,
we've always worked, all of us have worked with a weirdo. We've worked with someone that is just trying to escape a life. They're on every boat.
Yeah.
There's always one.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing before we close this, because I know a lot of people might have these questions because I had it myself. If somebody's getting a background check with you guys, we travel the world. And let's say I'm from South Africa and I had a criminal offense, whatever it was, in France. Will that show up or only South Africa stuff will show up?
It will always generally get picked up. No matter where you are, where the offense was committed. If it is registered as a crime and you are arrested and convicted of it, it will then show up. There is data. There is not only your home country, but there are global databases that hold all of this information, and your name will be listed in that. And then as soon as you find it, you can then dig a bit deeper. No matter where you are, unfortunately, generally, I think airs. Yeah.
And it lasts about 2 years, correct? And then you have to obviously
CrewPass
check again, because obviously in 2 years, a lot of things can happen.
Exactly. 2 years. An employer can recheck the one at any time. That's fine. We have a boat. We have two boats within a fleet that actively check every single crew member every single year before the season starts. But yeah, CrewPass stays valid for 2 years, and then it has to be, all the criminal checks have to be fresh.
I have to say thank you so much for what you have created. It just really gives us hope that we are moving in the right direction, that even though we see over and over all the things that are wrong, that should not be happening, but are happening, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. And the young people, the people that actually are the ones like crew members that have gone through the experiences on board, are the ones bringing the change and are not waiting for MCA or whoever potentially could change this regulation and make it happen. Do it. We cannot wait any longer. We have to do what we can today.
There are some things which you shouldn't wait for other people. You should try and make the change yourself. And little things like this, people can make the change themselves.
Exactly. And I want to say, it took me a long time to get on board CrewPass, and I regret it because it should have been done the minute it started 2 years ago. I knew about it. I put it on my to-do list, And it wasn't until something bad happened that really woke us up. You don't have to wait until that happened. And we have all had that wake-up call anyway, because we have all worked with special people. So if somebody obviously wants to start the process, whether they're crew, agencies, or a vessel, what's the easiest way to do that with you guys?
The easiest way is just hop on our website to chat, and you'll get through to someone in the
And
office.
below
Easiest way to do it.
the video, all the information is there. So all you have to do is click. Okay, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing and how you're actually helping make the yachting industry, move from the Wild West to a safer industry, like a professional industry, because that's what we're moving towards to, being really professional, because we are at the end of the day, exactly, working. We're not partying only, like we're actually working. Yeah, anything else you want to share with us before we, you're good?
I think you've covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Guys, until next time, all I have to say is, what are you waiting for? Click on the thing, get verified, and let's make the industry a safer place. All right, until next time. Bye.